Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different artist, and we I don't even wait. I'm fucked this one up.
I
already.
didn't know
Yeah,
what
I
to
don't
do
know.
here because it's the 13th millionth time I've done this. I still don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do.
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different artist, and we break down one of their records. We get into the music, lyrics, how it was made, and everything in between. This week we are doing Frank Sinatra and Sinatra at the Sands. This is a live record. We're going to try to get into it. There's not maybe too much to talk about on this one, but in the end, we're going to just talk about Frank Sinatra and that kind of scene as best we can and give our thoughts on it. So thank you for listening. While you're listening, watching, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. And if you didn't already know, my name is Tyler, and way out there, hundreds of miles away, is Jeff. So with that being said, let's get right into this. Like I said, we are doing Frank Sinatra this week. Sinatra at the Sands, his live record from 1966. So what are your, let's start with our origin story with Frank Sinatra. What's your origin story? Then we'll get into kind of our first impressions on this live record, and then just kind of freeball it. Just kind of freeball it from there. So you got to stop with that. This whole episode, if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, or Spotify, Jeff has these fucking backgrounds going, and he thinks he's funny,
It's
but
not
he's
me.
not.
It's Mac. It's Apples. They did it.
It's Mac.
Blame them. Blame the Macs and the Apples.
So let's get into it. What's your origin story with the Frank Sinatras? Go.
My grandparents listened to Sinatra, just as most grandparents do, right? That's just a grandparent thing, and he's kind of like comfort food. Like everybody likes Sinatra. Like you throw Sinatra on, nobody says, "Oh, turn that shit off." Like it's comforting. It's, I guess maybe for our age group or demographic, it's comforting because it's kind of like when you go to your grandparents' house, it's always fun, right? Like most people probably don't go to their grandparents' house and have a shit time. It's just like, oh, I can dick around. My parents can't say shit because their parents are going to tell them to shut the fuck up. So it's true. That's really about it. I never really owned anything on like CD or anything when I was collecting CDs. I only have this on the vinyl, Sinatra at the Sands. I think everything he's done is at least good. Some stuff is great, but most of it, like, it's just good. He's good. Mm-hmm. And he's doing big band songs that he didn't write. So like, it's not for the most part great. And a lot of the shit sounds fucking the same, but it's comforting.
Agreed.
It's comforting.
Yeah. My origin story, my grandma, my mom's mom, she liked Sinatra a lot. Yeah. She liked Sinatra a lot. She liked Elvis a lot. Those were her two things. And I just remember growing up a lot. Sinatra, she'd play Sinatra, the CDs and everything. She didn't use the record player at the time, so it'd be CDs or cassettes. And I don't remember any specific song. But yeah, like I agree that he's pleasant, that he's comfort. He's comfort food. Comfort music, that's what it is. You've never heard a bad Sinatra song. Nobody has ever heard a bad song. He's cool. He's fine. I mean, obviously we didn't do a rankings episode this week because he has like 60 fucking records, and even trying to find like the best of his records, I don't think we'd have a hard time ranking them anyway. So
it was tough. It was tough because a lot of record people say like, "Oh, that's his best record." And I listen to it, I'm like, dude, this just sounds like fucking another Sinatra record. I don't see the difference.
In the end, like, you and I don't have a keen ear when it comes to vocals because we don't know how to sing. We don't know the ins and outs of it. And I think if you do understand that, you could probably appreciate Sinatra more. But in the end, we don't understand.
But you heard like the difference between like early Sinatra and then like late Sinatra, right? Like,
well, yeah,
like
but that's only because his voice
Sands,
changed.
But like, no, not just like the fact that his voice sounds different, but like the command of his voice. And I think what makes Sinatra like one of the greatest singers of all time, it's a dude had a 100% perfect command of his voice. Whatever he thought in his mind, his voice could perfectly replicate whatever sound he was going for. And it also helped that he was working with like the biggest names in all of big band in his early stages, and like the biggest names in jazz in the 50s and 60s. So like any time that because he was orchestrating too, it wasn't just like he was a singer. Hey, give me the lines. He read sheet music. He was helping to orchestrate. Sometimes he would actually be the conductor of the orchestra. like when him and Nelson Riddle hooked up, like he would oftentimes take over the role of conductor, and Nelson Riddle was fine with that because he's the one writing the music anyway. He's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna get paid regardless. Do whatever you want to do, Sinatra. So I think it's just like Sinatra's command of his own voice is just is something that's like top 10, dude, top fucking 5, like absolutely fantastic.
And from what I was reading too, is that he wasn't a sight reader. Like he couldn't read music. He didn't know theory, nothing like that. He was just, a lot of it was by ear, but he knew how to find the perfect note, the perfect pitch, whatever it may be. But he didn't really know what he was doing. He just kind of knew what felt right or what sounded good. And what's crazy is like a lot of people respected him for being like that. Like a lot of well-trained musicians were like, yeah, this guy doesn't know how to read music, but he knows what we want. He knows what we're going for. And that's what's really cool about Sinatra too. Like he just kind of like says fuck it and does whatever he wants, but he makes it sound fucking good. It's crazy.
There's just so much to talk about with Sinatra, and that's why it was difficult to hone down like what we're going to even talk about on the pod, because this is literally going to be just this stream of consciousness, two dudes shitting around. But he didn't like read in the sense that like Tommy Dorsey, the big band guys, read, but he knew how to read music to where like, okay, I've done this, 30 times. So these notes on those little lines on the sheet music, like those little dots that are filled in, that's my range if I'm going for this mood, and that's my range if I'm going for this mood. So it's almost like I don't even know how to be.
It was like half-ass. It was like he was half-ass reading music or sight reading
bulk,
music,
not like individual notes. He more like read like
because he could read
the
the different bars and all of that. Like he could figure out, he could read enough of the music to know the timing and when to change to a different whatever it is, a different section. But yeah, he didn't technically know how to read music, which is super fucking. I think it's super cool.
I mean, we'll get into, because I think Sinatra is essentially like two things, right? What makes him, if not the most popular singer of like the entire history of the earth, is half his music, but the other half was him, like the swag, right? The riz, as the kids say. So, but like that's Sinatra, and he only got better as he aged, right? Like a fine wine. Right, he had more riz as he aged, and that's wild. And it's not even just like a little bit more, right? Like some people like Brad Pitt, right? As he ages, like, oh damn, like Brad Pitt's still a good looking dude, like he's a good looking grandpa, or whatever the fuck it is. Like Sinatra like became who he is the older he got. Like what we all think of Sinatra, that's him in his elderly years. That's him
and his
after 35, 40 years old.
Yeah, late like mid 40s and then onward. Because I mean, yeah, every video and picture you see of Sinatra is from the 60s, like maybe early 60s up through the 70s. That's like where you see the most of Sinatra, and he was in his 40s and 50s and 60s at that point. He was an older guy, and I don't know. We watched that, or you watched that whole documentary. I forgot what it's even called right now, but it's considered like the best Sinatra documentary. It's like it's a 4-hour thing. It's chopped up into 4 different episodes, but it's 4 hours. I got through the first hour and I just thought, man, dude, there's so much fluff. Like, and I mean, that part of the documentary I watched,
reading the Wikipedia. That's really what it was. It was
because
reading the Wikipedia.
I read the Wikipedia and then I watched that part of the documentary, and I read that part in 10 minutes and I wasted an hour watching it. I mean, it's cool seeing like the picture slideshows and everything like that of him when he was a kid and all that, but
there's also like a lot of anecdotes from
there were
Dean Martin, Joey Bishop, and people like people in the scene, people that knew Sinatra, people that liked him, people that kind of like thought he was kind of overrated, people that were jealous of him. So that was cool to have like those people come in, and also like some of the bigger anecdotes about Sinatra's life and some of the rumors and stuff. It was cool to hear people either say, yeah, that actually did happen, or like, no, that's a little far fetched. That didn't happen. But it was a good doc, but like, dude, 4 hours. That's not a doc. That's a fucking, you know what I mean? That's like, you're just reading a book at that point. That's silly. Like no one's going to watch that unless you're fucking us, me.
I know. Yeah, you. I gave
But
up.
like to be fair, I did it because I was just I threw it on the background as I'm doing stuff on
Mhm.
the computer, and like
Yeah.
taxes are due soon, so I was really just doing our taxes for the business as I put that on the background. So wasn't really focused on it.
How adult of you.
I
But
know, like double boring on top of boring.
I know.
I like doing taxes though. It's exciting.
But in the end, it's like, it's,
Dude, are we just like he just here we go. Wait, you're like a hardcore singer with that one.
I feel like if you didn't grow up listening to Sinatra, like if you weren't a teenager, like in the '60s, maybe '70s, like you're just not gonna, or earlier than that, you're just not gonna really. Sinatra's not gonna connect with you the same way. Like with us, yeah, our grandparents listened to him, but we had no real connection to him because we didn't go to Vegas and see him a bunch of times like my grandma did, you know. So it's like it's cool music to like look back on, but I'm never really gonna go out of my way to listen to Sinatra.
It's
In the
pretty
end,
wild because like that kind of entertainment essentially is going to die with us, right? Because
yeah,
another big thing that like introduced us to Sinatra was Married with Children, like the Love and Marriage
yeah,
song.
that's true.
Like but like that's not a show anymore. And you know, like the woke kids of today are never going to watch that show. So like
That
this
show
era
sucks.
of
Like going back, that show sucks.
what?
That show's terrible. Like watching
Married
it
with
now,
Children?
yeah, it's not. I watched it a couple of years ago. Like
What are
I
you
watched five
talking about?
episodes.
It's not terrible.
It hasn't. It's just not very good.
It's
Even
fucking
for a
funny.
sitcom. Even for a
It's
sitcom.
it's stupid slapstick, and everybody on there is like the most insane version of like a normal person that they could be. And there's no way in hell a family like that could possibly survive in any way, not just like financially, but also just not killing each other because they're all just kind of douchebags. And that's what makes it funny. It's like The Simpsons, but adult.
Okay.
Dude, Mary Children's a hilarious show. You're fucking
No,
wild.
it's not.
What the fuck? This comes from the same guy who thinks Home Improvement's like the greatest fucking thing that
Home
God's
Improvement's
ever given
great.
this earth. Please.
Home Improvement's great. It's
No,
on.
it's not.
It's on Netflix now too.
Yeah,
On
not
top
gonna
of
watch
Disney.
that. So yeah, I think this
Fucking
era of
do rag
music
on
is
if you're
going
watching the
to.
video.
I think this era of music is probably going to die with us. I don't see people younger than us ever going and listening to Sinatra outside of maybe like Starbucks playing it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Or
like
like
why?
during Christmas, you'll
Yeah,
hear
like
like this
but
Christmas
then
song.
you're just gonna go like Bing Crosby. Like Bing Crosby,
Yeah.
like
Or
that's
even Dean
that's
Martin. Even
the
it's
best selling Christmas record that we have at the store for sure. We sell that shit fucking like hotcakes. Can't keep it in stock, but that's it.
mhm.
Like there's no other crooner that you're really gonna pick up on. And Sinatra just like he was the best, man. He was the best again, not just because of the voice and like the voices are a dime a dozen, but it was the Riz.
It was, and a lot of people are. I didn't really realize it till this week, but women, I mean, girls loved Sinatra, and they even had a name. They were called Bobby Socks. That was like what girls who love Frank Sinatra. That's what they were called. And honestly, like looking back, he was not an attractive guy. He really
No,
wasn't. Like I've always just kind of thought, oh, he has like the piercing blue eyes, and he has that look. But I've never actually like taken time and really looked at him. He wasn't a very attractive guy. He was
no.
scrawny. He was, I don't know. I was surprised, honestly. But what it comes down to is, he has a lot of connections with powerful people, and also just women love him. So there you go. That's why he's so popular. A couple of reasons why he's so popular. As Jeff throws something across the room.
Oh, I gotta go get the fucking door because god damn it. Hold on there, dude. Now we're at the
Well,
fucking pause and rewind. All right, girl, go ahead.
I forgot what
I forgot
what
I
I
was
was gonna
saying.
do.
Louis Armstrong here. Yeah, Sinatra's. You were talking about how ugly he was. He was not an attractive a guy. I think because honestly, even after watching a lot of like the Rat Pack stuff, and but damn, it's like I watched most of the roast. I didn't watch the whole roast, but like Dean Martin was really funny. But a lot of those
Mhm.
guys are just not. They're like not. They're just. I don't know. They're not attractive dudes. Like in the sense that like I don't know, like a Rat Pack today, right? I don't know, like why? But like we talked about this before, how people from like the 50s or whatever that are 30 years old, right? Like we're not 30 anymore. We're well over our 30s, but people that were 30 in the 50s look like they're fucking 50 today, 50, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just like a sign of the times. We're just. I also do think like men were just more rugged back then than they are now. We're
I think
dainty,
also
dainty little fucks now.
Back then, men generally were drinking a shit ton of alcohol, liquor, on top of smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day. You know, and that's going to age you like fucking crazy. Just treating your body like shit like that. So there's that.
Good stuffs.
That's the good stuffs. But yeah, I don't know. From what I was reading and watching with Sinatra, I mean, you can't obviously deny his talent. The guy was fucking talented. But from what I was reading, it's kind of like he wouldn't have gotten certain things had he not known people. Like even going back to when he was a kid, he wanted to join that group, that singing group, and they didn't want him in it, so his mom got involved and she forced him she forced the other kids to let Frank join. And then you kind of look back and like read about like what his parents were doing and they owned a fucking speakeasy, they owned a fucking bar. Like these guys were fucking. His parents were bootleggers. They were immigrants from Italy, bootleggers in the 20s.
Well, they pretended not to be Italian. They pretended to be Irish.
No, or the dad. Or yeah, they did so that the dad could box.
So he could box, and so they could own the bar. The Italians were even less than the Irish, right? Like
true, yeah.
And that's a fun and interesting thing in itself because they got somewhere pretending to be somebody else, which is cool because Sinatra spent like the rest of his kind of life like fighting for rights for people that were like, especially like blacks, right? Like Sammy Davis Jr. in Vegas, that era, like fighting for civil rights and being a spokesperson for that and donating money because of where he came from. But yeah, for sure. But his mom was respected. Like she ran a fucking underground abortion ring for people that needed it. People had no money to raise a kid. Like she helped a lot of people. So
she did help the community a lot.
She had a lot of sway. But for sure, the Sinatra, I mean, like that's a whole mob thing too, right? Sinatra would be nothing if it wasn't for the people that have helped him.
Yeah, it's like he was in that contract with. It was before he went to Capitol Records, I believe it was.
Tommy Dorsey.
Yeah, Tommy Dorsey was in the contract with him, and then all of a sudden, you know, he got roughed up or something. Nobody really knows. And then all of a sudden, nobody really knows. But then all of a sudden, Sinatra's out of the contract and he signs with Capitol or whatever it was at the time. And then he had a shit time with Capitol. He had a hard time getting out of that.
Then went to Capitol later on.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. And then he had a shit time with Capitol for the however many years. And then he quit that and then created his own label, Reprise Records. And then he finished out his whole career with Reprise Records, the record label that he owned. But I mean, and then you kind of read about come on, his connections to the mafia were so obvious. Some of his close friends were straight up like not heads of families, but just people high up in the mafia and organized crime.
He was friends with enforcers for the head of the Genovese crime family. Is that how you say it? Genovese? The Gabagool crime family, essentially. The Gabagool crime family. But yeah, like going back to the Tommy Dorsey thing, like that's a whole fucking Godfather scene, right? Is when the kid in The Godfather, and he's like, "Hey man, can you help me?" He's like, "I'm gonna make him an offer I can't refuse." That's the fucking Sinatra thing.
It's the Sinatra story,
and that's the whole scene in Godfather is iconic. But like in the documentary, like there was 2 or 3 accounts, and someone like half of them were like, "No, that never happened." Half of them like, I don't want to say it happened because I don't want to get in trouble, but
But it's it's so obviously happened. Like you just don't get out of a contract like that.
But then Tommy Dorsey was a dick. He's like, I want 30% of your fucking income for the rest of your career.
Which is wild.
Like, are you crazy?
But then I agree, that's wild. But then all of a sudden, going from that to literally getting nothing, it's like, come on.
And then there was like stories that I read too. There were stories that I read too that he ended up signing away his contract for $1. And it's like if he actually only if Sinatra only had to pay him guess we're done here.
Sorry about that.
We're just gonna meet our cameras when we fucking feel like it. That's cool.
I had to. Yeah, it's fine. Just continue. All right.
What are you doing over there? Is Boy George here? What Boy George doing? Did he barf again? Anyway. Yeah, that guy Tommy Dorsey was a dick. But I really only know Tommy Dorsey kind of a lot because we get a lot of his junk records in the store. It's just that big band era. But like it's really, really, really good music, and it's really well put together music, and everybody in the orchestra has to be really, really fucking tight to put on an extreme performance, right? Because everybody's doing something, and it's really cool. Like big band music is like objectively really fucking cool. It just all sounds the fucking same, and like it's too old at this point, right? We're 100 years at this point. It's just a little bit too old, so nobody really cares anymore. But yeah, Sinatra and the Mob. Come on. He went to fucking Havana for that like massive mob conference that they had with all like the mobsters and shit. Like he was there. Like why would you be there, right?
and then to the point, and then also he was good friends with John F. Kennedy. And then Bobby Kennedy, JFK's brother, was like the head of he was very, very anti-mafia. Let's just say that. And JFK was going to go stay at Sinatra's place in Palm Springs, and RFK was like, you know what, you really shouldn't do that because of Sinatra's connections with the mafia. And then JFK's like, yeah, you're probably right. So he stayed at Bing Crosby's place in Palm Desert instead.
And Sinatra hated Bing. Well, I hate him, but like it was like I want to beat you.
Yeah, he was like his main competition. He was like the final boss. Was Bing Crosby.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like a guy like RFK who was really well respected convinces his brother JFK to not go see Sinatra. I mean that in itself is very, very telling. Also came out that a couple years or years later, like in the late 90s, that there was like over like 200 or maybe almost 300 pages like of dossier about Sinatra from the FBI, like FBI files and shit, like all this stuff. They constantly
always kept tabs on him
for decades. They kept tabs on Sinatra because of his connections, and all the wiretaps and all that kind of shit. It's crazy. Like to say that he wasn't connected like that is nuts. And not a lot, but a portion of his career is attributed to his connections in the mafia and his good looks, honestly, and obviously his vocals, but
it's I mean, like again, it's like not necessarily the good looks, it's like the image, right? Like the swag image, like that fucking hat, whatever that hat is called. Like we went from Sinatra just playing in like stupid fucking movies and being like this like kind of shittier version of Elvis, all skinny and dumb, and all of a sudden he has this affair and then leaves his wife for Ava Gardner. Yeah. And then his whole career just goes to absolute shit. Stars in a movie and then comes back and just all like, damn, bro, like you grew up. And all of a sudden puts his hat on, puts his little fucking necktie, and wears a nice suit.
By the way,
it's not a fedora. It's a specific kind of hat that he wore. It's not a fedora, but that's okay. You can look it up as I'm talking here. Go ahead and do that. I'll watch your fingers. I'll do that. I'll do that after I'm done talking. Then
continue.
Yeah, puts on this fucking hat, and now he's an entirely different persona. This weird like sex symbol that's simultaneously like young and invigorated, but also like wise and kind of like worn and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was something that like we've still kind of like never seen. We've never seen someone like this before. Even still today, like who was like Sinatra, like young, kind of at heart, and just wants to party and. Like, what you're getting yourself into when you hang out with Sinatra, but then also kind of like calm and collected and wise and cool and old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what's so a modern day singer who's always compared to Sinatra is Michael Bublé. And honestly, I mean, musically, vocally, I could see why. I mean, they sound very similar, and Michael Bublé is a fucking amazing singer.
Yeah.
And then have you ever like read more about like him personally, like how cool he is?
Yeah.
Like he just loves to like do hood rat shit with his friends. Like he just loves to fuck around with his friends and drink a shit ton of beer. Like he's just like this kind of like not a frat boy per se, but just like he just likes to hang out with his friends. Like that's all he wants to do in his life is hang out with his friends and get drunk. I mean, that's very much like the same kind of like Sinatra thing. Like I just want to get out and party and make music and that's it. Like it's just it's kind of weird how similar Michael Bublé is in a modern sense to Frank Sinatra almost 100 years ago at this point. So
I was actually talking about Michael Bublé when Malcolm came into the store. He said, "Oh, you had the Michael Bublé still on the wall, huh?" And I was like, "Dude, he's cool." because another guy had come in, wanted to buy it, and it was too expensive. But like, yeah, we had talked to Michael Bublé for a minute. I was like, yeah, he is actually really fucking cool. But like, he's not Sinatra cool. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I mean, Sinatra did it first too, so it's like anybody that comes after
but
him
Sinatra
is
did
be...
it best because even though
I agree.
there is this weird like glamorization of like the mob and the mafia, especially in this era of like United States history. There is a glamorization of the mafia and being involved in that. And I think like the reason why it probably never came out, I guess there's a couple reasons, but like his uncle was one of the dudes in the mafia that was one of those wise guys that they put him on the stand and he cracked jokes and shit and fucking he would take nothing serious and he'd say, and everybody would laugh in the courtroom and hoot and holler. That was like his uncle, the guy that got him in with the mafia.
And wasn't he in jail for like 15 years or something like that? Like he went to jail for a while for something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, he was in jail for a minute. They're all fucking in and out of jail. Right. But there is something to be said about that because like I don't know that era of like the mafia it's a little bit more like leading into like the Vegas stuff. It's a little bit more innocent, right? Like if you want to be involved in that kind of stuff and you go to Vegas, like you're bound to like buy illegal drugs and do a lot of things like that, and you're going to be paying a price for them or whatever. But like at least it's localized in Vegas. And I think the reason why Sinatra never got, because like honestly, if dude like JFK only got fucking elected because the mob like helped the Teamsters and the union guys vote for JFK and stuff like that, which in part was like because Sinatra told them to, in part because the mob told them to. But like the fact that Bobby was so against the mafia and they kind of got blindsided by it, and the fact that Sinatra didn't get like snuffed out because of that, that's a mistake. So like Sinatra should have got whacked and like his uncle should have got whacked because like the whole thing was like, hey, I'm going to give money to you and you give money to Sinatra and Sinatra give money to JFK. And when he gets elected, we don't want Bobby running whatever position he was in to start going after the mob, right? Like that's the whole purpose of us giving you fucking money. And if you don't deliver, then you're going to get killed. But I think because Sinatra and the Rat Pack helped like Vegas become like the greatest iteration that Vegas has ever been. And they were probably making so much fucking money.
All that
like,
gambling, all those.
That's probably like the one time the mob was like, all right, you know what? I'll give you that one. You fucked up, but I'll give you that one. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Not that I know anything about the mob. I just know what
I know. We're talking
things like that, but
we're talking like we're fucking experts over here on the mafia and Sinatra and all this kind of shit.
But then you look at guys like that dude like Lucky Luciano, whatever the fuck it is. The dude's like just killing people fucking left and right just because like they're kind of somewhat in his way of becoming the main boss, like the crime boss of the family, right? Just, like these guys just kill people because like, you know what, you're kind of in my way, so you're whacked. Gone. Like the Joe Pesci's, right? The Joe Pesci's of the mob universe instead of the Ray Liotta's of the mob universe. You ever saw Goodfellas?
I did see Goodfellas, and I really don't like Ray Liotta in that movie. I don't really like that movie in general. I don't like Goodfellas.
That's stupid. You're just okay.
It's good.
Before you make me mad. It's not good. It's great. It's an amazing movie. Yeah.
Casino's way better. Casino's way better.
I mean, Casino's my favorite mob movie, but
no, okay. So anyway, let's move on a little bit. Something else. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this live album, Live at the Sands, or Sinatra at the Sands. Sorry,
Sinatra at the Sands.
So this was recorded over January and February 1966 at the Copa Room, or in the Copa Room at the Sands Hotel or Hotel and Casino, whatever it is. And then it was released January of the same year in 1966. I was kind of looking up the Copa Room and pictures and
fucking cool. Was it not cool?
It was cool. And the Copa Room, it sat 400 people. It says capacity was 12,000 people, but it sat 400. Yeah, and I saw a lot of. I was looking through a bunch of pictures of that, the Sands Hotel, and all that kind of shit.
That's the Goodfellas. When they're going to the club, that's the Copa Room, dude.
Was it? Oh yeah, because I guess Goodfellas was because the Sands was taken down in 1996. I think Goodfellas was 92.
I don't know if it is the Copa Room, but I think that's modeled after like what's supposed to be the Copa Room.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, like if I in this like me in the 60s watching Sinatra at the Sands, I'd be fucking drunk and I'd be smoking so many cigarettes.
I know.
I don't even smoke, but I'd be smoking like a pack. I'd be sitting there just chain smoking.
Skinny cigarettes? Wait,
yeah, of course.
Or
I might even get one.
The
with the
plastic,
little yeah, with the
the
little tip.
plastic things, or the ones that are like that long. So
Oh
like the
yeah.
cigarette becomes like this fucking long.
I might even get one of them holders too, where you hold it like that with the little thing, with the little stick on the stick, like so it's like perpendicular.
Yeah.
Dude, fuck yeah. Just so cool. Just oozing with
So
cool.
so Goodfellas came out in 1990. So they probably actually filmed it at the Sands. Because if a lot of that shit, like in Casino and Goodfellas, they actually filmed in Vegas. So, but anyway, yeah,
This is
it was
this is the
torn down
height of
in
Vegas,
1990.
man. And
Yeah,
this performance was his first. I think it was his first official live release
it
on
was live
record,
record.
and which is also crazy because he's old, right? He's born in
Mhm.
1915, so 15, 25, 35, 45, 55. So he's
He
50.
was
He said he was
he was over
50.
50. Yeah, he was like 52 or
He's
51,
like, turned
52.
50 the other day. Remember he's talking like he's fucking like super from Jersey and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I told him fucking hit him once, I help him get the ball.
Tony
Like dumb,
Soprano over here.
yeah, like a dumb fucking idiot. But it's good. It's good, and he nails it. And what's cool about Sinatra too, and you watch like videos of him and the whole like special that he did later on, and in this performance is when it's time for like the instrumental break or when it's time for like a solo, a quote unquote like big band solo. He's
Mhm.
always there with like the yeah, get him, how, wah. You know, he always does those little
Yeah,
fucking like Batman noises and shit, like yo, and lets him go. But like that's cool, man. Like
great
way to like
entertainer,
prop
man.
your band up, right? Way to like
Yeah,
let your band do their thing, give them their moment, but also like assert like kind of your dominance in there. Like that just adds a little bit extra layer that I'm the man here and I'm allowing you to do this, but I'm also going to make it so that everyone is listening to you right now. Go.
I do like that a lot.
That's like
Also,
this era's equivalent of like the punkers like going go.
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 Yeah, you're right. You're right. It really is. Or kind of like very kind of David Lee Roth too. You know, it's like
Yeah.
getting everybody pumped up for Eddie's next part or whatever. You know, it's just
So cool.
it's just a good frontman, a good entertainer, just a straight up great
It's a
entertainer.
great entertainer.
Yeah, and in the end, that's what really Sinatra was he was a great entertainer because, like we mentioned, he didn't write any of these songs. He had nothing to do with really any of these songs at all, except he came in and sang. And I mean, he did a little bit of arranging. He did some of that, but you know, what these weren't his songs. He just chose the right ones to sing to, I guess you could say, or he hired the right people to perform on the records, like the right orchestra, the right whoever it may be. I mean, for example, this record, Sinatra at the Sands, he got Quincy Jones to come. Quincy Jones, Flashes of Quincy.
Jones.
So yeah, he Quincy Jones arranged and conducted this performance on this record. Count Basie or Bassie, it was Basie or Bassie, I don't know.
I always say
He was
Basie.
he was the orchestra the orchestra, was it orchestra leader or orchestrator? What is it?
I think he's the
Composer?
band leader.
The band leader. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to think of. He was the band leader. I mean, just very famous guys. I mean, Quincy Jones, it's still pretty early on in his career, but I mean, still very, very famous at this point. And I mean, just
Definitely before
heavy
like
hitters.
Quincy Jones went full like pop, right?
Yeah, yeah, in
Like
the
this
70s.
is
Yeah.
still him kind of like arranging things in kind of like the jazz realm with a little
Jazz
bit
big
more
band realm.
soul to it. And like Count Basie and his orchestra, like this is like they're locked in, dude. They are locked
yeah.
in, and they have like
Musically, yeah, definitely.
15 guys behind Sinatra doing essentially the same thing over and over and over. But it never feels repetitive. Even though the songs are very similar to each other, it's never like, oh fuck man, like I'm over this. I'm tired of this. Like end this shit, right? Like it never feels repetitive. It feels like a show. It feels like I'm there. It feels like I'm having a good time. It feels like I'm part of like what is happening here. Historic. It's fucking historic.
It really is. And then I mean, going through this record several times over the last couple weeks, I mean, it's very of its time, like comically, you know, or stand up wise. Because I mean, a lot of this is like the whole was it Tea Time, that almost 12-minute song. It's just him doing stand. It's him doing stand up for 12 minutes. That's what it is.
I mean, it's because like the band's taking a fucking break. They're
Yeah,
gonna
I
go
know.
Smoke
After
a cigarette and shit and come back.
After going so hard for fucking 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll fucking just stay here and because
I'll
he
do some
smoked a
stand-up.
lot of pot beforehand and he talks about it and he's probably like pretty buzzed and like that's the thing too, right? Like he's probably not like super high, but he's definitely had because he talks about how the Mary Jane's biting him in the ass right now. Like that's crazy. Like so he's a little
Well, I mean,
high, he's a little stoned,
even
and
going
he's
to that,
drinking.
well, talking about like him performing, intoxicated. I mean, yeah, that was always kind of the shtick with him and especially the Rat Pack. But apparently, from everybody that knew Sinatra and the Rat Pack, they never actually performed drunk. Like they might have been drinking a little bit, but they never came out drunk. Like all the stuff with Dean Martin and him being drunk, that was all a shtick. None of that was real. It was all part of
See,
the
I thought
act.
that too until I watched like today the roast of Sinatra, and god
But a
damn,
roast is
dude.
different. A roast is different than an actual performance.
But that's the
That's different.
Sinatra roast. That's not just a roast. This is your boy. This is Sinatra roast.
My
So like
boy.
I don't believe that. I think they were drunk all the time.
Well,
And
I
I
mean,
think
I know. I mean, Sinatra had issues, not issues, but I mean, he drank. He did drink a lot. He drank a lot, especially liquor. And I know he had a painkiller problem as well. And also, it was known when he was with Ava Gardner before they were married, like when she was more of his mistress, and then even after they were married. And one reason why it was so volatile is because they were very similar. They both loved to fucking drink
yeah,
liquor. They fucking loved, just they loved a lot of the same
massive
fucking
mood
things.
swings.
Yeah, they love fucking partying. They fucking loved partying. So I mean, but in the end, from what I was reading, when they actually performed, like when they were going up on stage and performing, they weren't actually wasted or anything like that.
See, I just don't I don't buy that. I don't buy that because nah. Because these guys all fucking drank, dude. Like it's not just
Well,
like
yeah,
the performers, but like the band guys drank. Count Basie drank. Like Louis Armstrong drank. Everybody fucking drank. It was just a part of life. Maybe like their drinking compared to our drinking is different. Like how like people in England, Skip will say, "Oh, we drink to fucking die." Like, okay, buddy boy. Well, I don't know about that. But like maybe people's like opinions on drinking are just different. But like, nah, dude, these guys all fucking drink constantly.
I mean, yeah, I think these people at this time, men especially, they started drinking at fucking 11 o'clock in the morning, until they went to bed at 11 o'clock at night, midnight.
That's where the
It's
phrase
like,
"one for the road" comes from. It's like this era.
Yeah.
One for the road literally means I'm going to take a beer or a drink to go.
Yeah.
Like now we don't drink and drive because it's bad, but like back then that's what that fucking means. I'm going to take
Yeah, that's
one
true.
more while I drive home because I need to drink more before I go home, right? Like that's
And
they
honestly,
drink.
most of what they drank was liquor. It wasn't beer. Beer was something you drank like maybe at a pub or you drank like when it was hot outside. Otherwise, you drink liquor. You don't really ever drink beer.
Real men drink liquor. I don't know. I don't drink liquor. That's
I
why we
don't
didn't drink the Rusty Nails because I'm not paying fucking $25 for Drambuie.
Yeah, that was another thing too. We were gonna kind of do a thing like with the Long Island season. We were gonna drink a Rusty Nail, which was Frank Sinatra's favorite drink, supposedly. But yeah, we looked it up, and it's like, fuck, I don't have any Scotch whiskey or Scotch, and I don't have Drambuie, and yeah, I don't want to spend another $40 just on alcohol that I'm never really gonna drink.
Especially like
Unless
those two
somebody
things.
comes
I'm
over.
not going to drink Scotch, and I'm not going to drink Drambuie. At least with
Yeah.
the Long Island, like all the other ingredients in those, you can mix with something else that I will like or drink.
Yeah,
Like nah,
not the Scotch.
nah.
Because Scotch has to pretty much be drunk by itself on the rocks, straight up, whatever. And Drambuie, I don't even know what Drambuie is.
Nah.
I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about. I think it's like some like honey based kind of alcohol, but that just doesn't sound
And
good.
they're gross. Like I don't want to drink that shit anyway. It's fucking gross.
Fucking
Man,
gross.
so like we open up the whole concert. Right? With "Come Fly with Me," "Come Fly with Me," which is a fucking stupid
song.
good song. It's a great song. Like, there's probably only like 4 songs on here that I think, like, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just kind of like, I don't know, the same. Like "Luck Be a Lady," "Fly Me to the Moon," "Come Fly with Me,"
It was a very
"One
good
for My
year.
Baby."
That one I forget about, but then when you hear it, it's like, fuck, yeah, I totally remember that song.
Yeah. I think that's
But
it.
yeah, there's only maybe a small handful of songs on this record
So
that
my years.
I remember, outside of this. But in the end, none of these songs are bad, and the sequencing of them all. Like you have your ballads, you have your upbeat dance stuff, you have the instrumental stuff. Like this is a really great sequence of songs, and I know it was recorded over multiple shows, but they did a fantastic job sequencing this entire live record. This was good. This was really really good. There's no low moment, and I do like how they did the tea time. They actually literally did it halfway through the record where the band was taking a break, and then they come like what's cool is like but the lead up to that, it's like this really frantic kind of instrumental thing for like a minute and a half, like everybody's going fucking crazy, and then the song ends, and then Sinatra goes into like his stand-up routine for 12 minutes, and then the band comes back on, and it's ripping and roaring, and dude, it's just very up and down, and it's great. These songs are great, honestly.
Which is it's funny because Sinatra is like compared to Dean Martin, Sinatra is like nothing. Dean Martin is actually a really 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 funny dude. He's fine. He's funny in this because like we're kind of engrossed in what he's going to say because we're here for the ride. But like Dean Martin's a funny fucking dude. And even like Sinatra said, like I'll never be as funny as Dean Martin. And that's true. That's why he had his own fucking roast series. But the tea time, so like I read a lot of things online too that the tea time was pretty like a lot of racial things going on in the tea time. Did you read a lot of that?
Yeah, I read some of that. Like
when did that happen?
He was saying like something like Sammy Davis Jr. working at a hotel for free or something. I guess it's like some slave thing.
But that was his boy though. Like
like they were. I mean, I get it. I mean, the what he said itself is pretty racist, but also
that was racist.
Yeah, but it's just also like you put it in the context of everything, and it's like he loved Sammy Davis Jr. and they loved each other. Like they were so fucking close.
It wasn't just that he loved Sammy Davis Jr. Like when Sinatra found out that Vegas was making the blacks stay like half a fucking mile away at a different entire complex, he said, first thing he did, according to some of the interviews and people said the first thing he did was send them all like their own like private guma, right? Their own private fucking what do you call like what's a nice way to put a nice
a lady of the night, a lady of the night.
An escort. There it is, escort.
Yeah.
He sent them all their own personal escort while he figured out how the fuck he's going to handle this. And he's always been an advocate for civil rights. And so after that happened, he basically told like Vegas, like, hey, they either stay with me or I'm just gonna go somewhere else. And of course, like, what the fuck is Vegas going to do? It's, okay, fuck it. Let him stay. So, like, that's silly boy talk. That's just a boy riffing on his boy, right? That's what I heard there. Even still, I didn't hear anything that was, like, egregiously racist. Like, I just didn't. And I saw racist. Yeah. That's Sean Connery. And I find that racist.
It is.
Sean Connery. I find that, like just stupid people in the woke era with their fucking goggles on thinking like, oh, he's a fucking racist. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like he's like the opposite of that, dude.
Especially
you know
at this time, especially of this time. Come on, man. Like a lot of white guys
he made like movies where like he saw like people getting picked on and like, like my family's Italian descent and people make fun of Italians a lot. Are you gonna make fun of me? Like, oh no, Mr. Sinatra, I would never. Like, okay, well then don't make fun of fucking him, dude. We're the same. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
the fuck out of here.
I agree. I mean, he did donate a shit ton to charity. I mean, who knows? Maybe there were mafia connections with that, and there was like a lot of his money laundering or, some sort of tax, not evasion, but like, tax cuts and shit like that. But he did donate a lot to charities. Like that's also another thing that he was known for was, he spread his wealth. He really, really spread his wealth to other people and to just everything in general. And it never really seemed like he ever discriminated against people ever. So
I think I think he just liked being a dude, right? He's just like a guy that's really grateful, and he's just like, dude, what I got going on right now is fucking dope, and I'm just gonna do what I can to be as happy and party as hard as I fucking possibly can for as long as I possibly can.
And he fucking did, and the women, I mean, and he wasn't just dating like, just random. Like he was dating some. I mean,
the
Ava
girls in every
Ava Gardner.
movie.
Marilyn Monroe, Mia Farrow. I mean, those are the big ones that I know of. But I mean, the other girls.
Every single movie he was in that had like a female like other lead kissed her. Yeah. Every fucking movie.
But then you look at like the whole Mia Farrow thing. She was 21. He was 50. It's like, damn, dude, that's why. And they were married for like 4 years or some shit like that. 3-4 years. That's why. And then also, I didn't even know this. I never knew this, but Mia Farrow had a kid in the 60s. She said it was Woody Allen's kid because I knew that they were married together for a long time. She always said that it was his kid, but you look at the kid, dude, it's Sinatra. Like it's like her kid looks exactly. Come on, does he look like Woody Allen?
I mean, that's
Okay,
like the big thing,
if
right?
you were to
And
throw
like,
up, what's his name, Ronan Farrow? He's some journalist
stupid.
now, like for I don't know CNN or whatever. But no, you fucking throw up a picture of Ronan Farrow, and you're like, does he look like Woody Allen, or does he look like Frank Sinatra? It's like, come on, man, this shit's wild. And then
I don't. But like somebody said, like I think it was Nancy. Somebody said that Frank had like a vasectomy before they were even together, though, to like where it couldn't be his kid.
yeah, but also Nancy was also she was also very very hurt by a lot of what he did, so of course she might say something like that. But the evidence is right there. It's like saying like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had that affair with his housemaid, and then you see that kid, and you're
that
like,
kid looks fucking
it
identical.
looks exactly like Arnold. It's like
his brother.
it's the same thing. It's the same fucking thing. It's like you look at Ronan Farrow, and you're like, yeah, dude, that is
true.
Frank
That's
Sinatra.
true.
That is Frank Sinatra right there, man. So anyway, he was married 4 times, and multiple women he bedded.
I mean, like I do feel bad for the I forgot what his first wife's name was, but I do feel bad for her,
Nancy,
because
right?
Nancy. That's right, Nancy Sinatra Jr. I do feel bad for her because that was like he did her dirty. They like did her straight dirty.
Yeah.
I was like, well, now I'm a big star, so I'm gonna take off now. I'm gonna get going. Like that's fucked, dude. Everything else after that, like that's showbiz, right? These people fucking do it to each other all the time and whatever. I don't give a fuck. But Nancy Barbados, whatever her name was.
I think it was like Barbados or something like that.
I do feel bad. That sucked. That's fucked up. That's fucked up, bro. Fucked up, bro. But yeah, dude, they got like the party.
You did.
Whatever.
God, can you imagine going to Vegas in the 60s or 70s? What a cool time, man.
Like that's the whole like the doc kind of went over that concept too. Is like imagine like thinking. I mean, it's hard for us to kind of think that way because there's so many different mega pop stars that we all kind of like idolize. Whereas in this period of time, there's not as many pop stars to idolize. So imagine thinking like, I'm going to go to Vegas and maybe I'll play craps at fucking the Flamingo. And next to me will be Sammy Davis Jr. Next to me will be Sinatra, Joey Bishop, Dean Martin, right? Or somebody like they're dating, or somebody like is insanely famous, but I'm not there to like get autographs and take pictures and shit. We're just there to fucking hang out, get fucked up, and have a good time.
Just
like that's crazy. That's what like the appeal to Vegas was, right? Like I could go out, hang out, and get drunk with Sinatra.
Yeah, and just have
dude, I would go and get drunk with Sinatra.
And have a shit ton of sex. I mean, that's why it was called it's called Sin City. It's like,
alcohol,
especially back then,
drugs, sex. That's all.
That is Vegas, man. That is fucking Vegas. Or especially back then. I mean, I haven't been to Vegas in a long time, but I mean, sure, it's still like that. I haven't been in like 6
it's probably
years, 7
similar
years.
to that. But then like there was that I just saw this fucking like a year or two ago, like these 2 girls like hooked up with this dude and then shot him in his fucking hotel room and robbed him. And it's like, man, that shouldn't happen in Vegas. That didn't happen in Mob Vegas. Tell you that much.
No, did not.
In corporate run Vegas, that's what happens. In mob run Vegas, you get fucking comped rooms. You don't win no money, but at least you get free rooms, right? And that's fine. Like that's a trade off. Like, I'm okay with losing my money, but like show me a good time.
Yeah. Speaking of Vegas, I am going out there in a few weeks. Got a comped room. No, I'm not getting married. But I'm going out there. Got a comped room. Some friends of ours live out there, so I'm going out there in a couple weeks. I will report back on my findings in Vegas because it's been, like I said, it's probably been about 6 years since I was out there last. So I will be out there. I will go to the Punk Rock Museum. I will go to a couple record stores. And
go Tracks and Wax.
I was kind of looking it up today a little bit. They have a fucking Zia Records. It's like I'm not gonna go fucking after the Zia Records.
Tracks and Wax is one of those record stores where like you find like, oh, this is a cool record. Huh, where's your price tag? Let me go up to the counter so he can price it right now. That's Tracks and Wax.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that guy.
Dick.
Yeah.
What? That's fucking the most scumbaggy thing you possibly do. Yeah. I am jealous you're going to the Punk Rock Museum though. Are you really gonna go for sure?
I don't see why I wouldn't be going.
Okay, so like, yeah, I mean, like for all intents and purposes, unless something egregious happens,
Well, in the end,
yeah, it's
I'm
Vegas.
going. Tammy and I are going, and they're they're kind of want to do their own thing. Like
Why are you going?
it's myself, Tammy, Danielle, and then the two guys out there, Brian and Arlie, who live out there and are getting us the rooms. And they kind of want to do all this shit, and I'm like, I don't really want to do it, so I'm just gonna kind of like when they're kind of doing whatever they want, I'm gonna go off on my own and do the museum and whatever else, because nobody else is gonna want to do that. Nobody wants to go to the punk rock museum, so I'm gonna do that by myself.
You throw me down a parlay?
I will do that. Yeah, I will do that. I don't know what hotel we're staying at yet. They haven't told us what room they got us, or what hotel yet. But
Is it on strip or off strip?
It'll be on strip. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be on strip. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if it's on Fremont or if it's on the strip. I would actually prefer it was on Fremont. But
What if it's like
I don't
way
know.
off strip though? What if it's in like?
No, because Arlie, he gambles a lot. Like he gambles a fucking lot. So they're gonna get us a nice room. That's what I've been told. But yeah, so I'm going out to Vegas. I don't really like Vegas though. I mean, it's not. You and I used to have a lot of fun when we used to go, but that was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I mean, I've been to Vegas post that, and I think that it's just not. If I'm gonna go to Vegas, I'm gonna lose, let's say $2,000, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not paying for drinks all weekend, if I'm not paying for food all weekend, if I'm getting my room for free, and maybe you throw me a couple tickets to go see Penn and Teller, right? That softens that blow exponentially. But if I'm gonna lose $2,000 and I still have to pay, I'm getting half off my room, and like 2 drink tickets. Like, what the fuck is this? Right? You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, nah. And I remember going to Vegas a lot with my mom and stepdad because he gambled a lot. At the time, my mom gambled a lot. And I remember, dude, like, our rooms were wild. Like, we got like crazy, crazy rooms. And I know like he gambled like a lot, but like we all had our own room and shit. Like, it was fucking crazy.
That is crazy.
And like every buffet,
But that was Vegas in the '90s, though. Vegas
Yeah,
in the
that's what I'm
90s,
saying.
yeah.
Like Vegas,
Vegas
in the 90s
now
is
is
probably
different.
the last like iteration of like the golden years for Vegas.
Yeah.
Whereas Vegas now is probably just it's corporate run, and corporate it's the worst. Give it back to the mob.
I mean, honestly, the first time I ever went to Vegas was when I was driving through Vegas to go somewhere else. And I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old. And then after that, the next time I ever went to Vegas was with you, when you and I drove out to Vegas for the night. When you and I left at like 7:00 at night, we drove out there. We got there like midnight. And then you and I partied all fucking night until like 7:00 in the morning. And then we drove home the next day. We drove home that day.
Yeah.
So we didn't even fucking sleep. We just stayed up all night partying
for pussies.
and then drove home from Vegas. That was literally the first time I had ever been to Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah,
And that was 2000. That was 2008. That was right after you turned 21. Because that's why we went, because you turned 21 in April, and I think we went like a month later. It's like, well, we have nothing else to do. We work. Neither of us worked the next day, and we're like, fuck, let's go to Vegas. We've never been to Vegas. Let's fucking go to Vegas. So we just fucking drove out there. No idea where to go. We just kind of like, well, if we take this freeway all the way out, we'll hit Vegas. We had no hotel room, obviously. We just found a random parking structure in Vegas, parked there, and just walked around we literally walked around all night.
Like maybe that was at the time too, because you could drive on the strip, and people were crossing the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like now, like there's like overhead escalators and shit.
Yeah.
But like I remember Vegas where you could just walk across the street, like on traffic and stuff, and like that's Vegas. And then watching that documentary with Sinatra playing in Vegas, the Sands and shit, and like seeing like the downtown on the strip, and like how much lights and just people were out there, and it seems safer then. Like I just don't think Vegas is like very safe anymore. It's everyone's too aggressive.
Weird. It's because it's like, I mean, it's weird because like Vegas they tried to have that like overhaul where they tried to make it more family friendly. And then they demolished a bunch of the old casinos and put up like Treasure Island. And,
the Sahara, the Sands.
Yeah. But then
the Riviera.
But then that didn't like go anywhere. Like they did it for 15 years. Then it's like they didn't make any money. So now they changed it back to like more of the Sin City thing, like big fucking hotels. And I mean, The hotels there now are insane. They're fucking huge, man. They're fucking
But you can't have this kind of Sin City anymore because of like just technology. There are too many cameras, and you can't go there as the CEO of a company and just do a fuck ton of cocaine and hook up with whoever you want because someone's gonna film it. So I think like, honestly, probably the reason because like I went to Vegas like honestly probably like 50 times with my my mom and stepdad. And like she was like, oh, you can bring a friend. I was like 9, and we'd walk the strip, and we'd come home with fucking stacks of those cards, right? Because like little hooker cards,
the little titty
like,
cards. Yeah,
we always go like this with them. They slap them down like this, and we collect them.
Yeah, I know.
And we'd have like Pokemon cards, and we stacked them. But like we'd walk the strip for 6-7 hours by ourselves, and we'd only come back
kid.
as a 10-year-old kid.
I know. It's fucking
you know what
crazy.
I mean? Like. And I think it was probably safer back then because we're starting to get into like the corporateness of it, where there's probably still semi-mob owned. But I feel like people are polite probably when the mob owns it because you're not going to go to jail. You're going to get your fucking hand stamped down with a hammer, right? So like when the police are involved, like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. I'll hire a lawyer or some shit and get off the hook or whatever it is. But when the mob's involved, like people get hurt. So I think maybe like a mob-owned Vegas is a polite Vegas and a safe Vegas. And it would just be cool to go to Vegas.
Weird to think about.
But like it'd be cool to go to Vegas and be like, yes, I know I'm going to lose thousands of dollars, but damn, I'm gonna get so fucking drunk and I'm still gonna end up in my hotel room and I'm gonna have all my kidneys, all my phalanges, all my feet, and I'll be okay. I'll have a good time. That's all I want. Yeah. And that's Sinatra's Vegas, baby.
Do you remember a few years ago when there was the drought here in California and like the Southwest here? And Lake Mead, the lake over out in Nevada, was starting to recede like really, really far down.
Yeah,
and then
dangerously low.
Like all these like skeletons were being uncovered, like chained to like concrete and shit. Like people were just all these like dead bodies were found from like decades past. It's fucking wild. But yeah, because Lake Mead, if you don't know the area, Lake Mead is not far from. It's like maybe
Laughlin,
an hour
Vegas.
Hour and a half from Vegas, and Laughlin, like it's not that far. But it's in the middle of the fucking desert, this lake. But also, I was going to say, so the Sands Hotel that was demolished it closed and was demolished in 1996. It was replaced by the Venetian Hotel, which, you and I have been to I've never actually stayed there, but I mean, it's just one of those casinos that you always walk through. Like if you're walking up and down the strip, it's right there in the middle.
Huge.
It's huge, and it's right there in the middle of the strip. And you always walk through that casino and hotel, and it's huge, and it's actually a really cool casino because it's set up like you're in Venice, Italy. So like there's these fake canals inside the building, and it stinks like Venice does.
We already got like Caesar's Palace, right? Like, do we need another fucking like this kind of concept? Like, come on.
I mean, but that's kind of what Vegas is. The Venetian, Paris, all that.
It is now.
Well, but like when you and I started going in 2008. Up until for like the next 7 years after that, it was like Venetian, Paris, New York, Caesar's Palace, like everything had a theme. You know what I mean? What?
Just because like there's not a lot to talk about with this Sinatra episode, but I remember one time going to Paris and then going into the bathroom in Paris and like seeing the guy again.
Paris, France, or Paris in?
No,
Vegas?
the Paris Hotel. The Paris Hotel. It was
either?
like you, me, Ryan. Yeah, dude. We're like, I think it was one we went with Kevin too, and Kevin had like poop in the park, and we were all parked in traffic, and he had to jump out of the car real quick.
Jump out of the car and go poop. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, we've done
all
a
the
lot
times too. All the times too, we go on the top of the balcony and
things.
fucking flick plates off like frisbees. Remember?
Yeah,
dropping shit down stairwells.
Yeah, we did a lot of dumb things in Vegas. Yeah, throwing shit down a stair. Like these hotels are, they're 50 stories high, and we go in the stairwell that most people don't go in these stairwells because they're so fucking high up and they're outside. They're not indoor stairwells. Like some of them are outdoors.
Fuck out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's hot as fuck. But we're like dropping like glassware down the stairwell.
See how long it can go down
before it hits something.
It explodes. But it's going like 80 miles an hour before it hits the handrail.
And then the moment it hits and we hear that sound, we're like, oh! We all like yell, and it's like it's so fucking dumb.
like taking furniture from like the lobby and putting it into like the hotel room, or like halfway in between the elevator and like outside
That
the
was
elevator,
what
so the
we
elevator
did.
can't
Yeah.
close.
We took, there was one time when we went to Vegas, we fucked up this room bad. We took all of the furniture from the lobby elevator area, so a couple chairs, ashtrays, tables. We took all of that from there, like literally the plants, everything. We took everything and put it all into our hotel room.
We played
Everything
beer
into our
pong
hotel.
on the fucking
And we
little
played beer
table
pong,
things.
yeah, on the table that the tables that we took from the elevator lobby area. We played beer pong with that.
We took the ashtrays. We took everything.
Yeah, the ashtrays. Yeah, I mean that was one of the more wild times that we were in Vegas. I mean, there was a lot more. That
Annie
happened.
was there too, right?
Yeah, Annie was there. That was. I'm not even,
I can't even imagine. She was like, "This is a mistake. I should not have been. I should not be here."
Well, also that trip. I'm not gonna get more into detail what happened that trip because a lot of shit happened that trip. But when we went, because Annie drove Ryan and I out to Vegas that time. I think you went with Kevin or something, or whoever we were with, and so we go out to the car park, or the fucking parking structure, the day we're leaving, and somebody had opened their or crashed into the back of or the side of Annie's car or some shit like that.
Like backed into it.
No, it was like sideways backed into it. So her rear passenger door was like caved in, so you couldn't even open the door. And I remember we got out of the elevator, and Annie just looked at it, and she was so sad and so upset. And Ryan and I felt so bad. God, we felt so bad.
But I know Ryan laughed.
After the fact, yeah. But I mean, it was so. I mean, we felt so bad for Annie, and we like even went to security, like they could even do anything anyway.
We're like, no, what are you kidding me?
Yeah,
no.
I mean, well, like I think Annie like wrote up like a report, or they wrote up a report.
Fuck,
or whatever.
I forgot about that. That's so funny.
They crushed part of her car, like some probably some like giant pickup truck, like fucking rammed her little car.
Yeah, it's just some drunk dickhead that couldn't get out of the parking lot and fucked her car up.
Fucked it up bad. Yeah. What a way to end that weekend.
Oh my God, that's so fucking funny. That's good. That's Vegas, baby. See, that's what I'm saying. Vegas is there to just like wreak havoc,
dude. Or the one time that we
and the opposite side is you lose thousands of dollars. That's okay.
You do. But one other thing before we move on, I do want to talk about that antiquing weekend. We went there for friend of the pod John and his birthday, his 21st birthday. We went to Vegas, and then he brought his girlfriend who wasn't 21 years old. So it's like that was a bad idea, first of all.
That was fun.
But then there was the room with us in it. It was myself, you, Jeff, friend of the pod Ryan, Soheil, and it was an encore. Who was it? It wasn't Encore. Who was that?
Definitely
it was one of John.
Encore.
It was one of John's friends.
Something?
No, it was one of John's friends from the academy or something like that. I forgot his name, but he was really cool, and he had the same like to fuck around with us. But we, based off of the old CKY videos, we're like, let's antique each other the entire 3 days we're here. So we brought a shit ton of flour. We bought a shit ton of flour while we were out there, and anytime anybody was asleep, we would antique them. A handful of flour, just throw it in their face while they're asleep. And dude, literally that entire hotel room had a thick layer of flour, like the TV, the furniture, the beds. And then it was at one point, I remember me, you, and Ryan, we took the top comforter off of Soheil's bed, and we put a layer of flour between the comforter and the sheet.
Oh my God.
Do you remember shit?
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. Dude, we fucked that room up.
I do remember someone getting you so good that like they were like caked on your eyelash.
Caked on my eye. And then I had it in like my hair. It was like I was like white. I was fucking white.
It like caked on your eyelash. It looked like a cookie or something.
It would like get in your mouth. It would like get in your mouth and you like chew like raw flour.
Oh my God, dude. Oi.
No, we did a lot. We did a lot of. I mean, the thing with Vegas is like when we went to Vegas, we didn't do like the normal debauchery kind of thing. Like we didn't hire hookers or anything like that. We would just
Yeah.
we would get really drunk and just be idiots to each other. Like we would just fuck around with each other. We never hurt anybody. We just kind of fucked around with each other.
A lot of cleanup. We didn't mention all the pooping either, but that's
Yeah, but we don't even want to talk about that. That
the
was
video with Tammy laughing. That was a good one.
Oh yeah,
That was a good one.
and we're not going to get into that anyway. Vegas and
Vegas, baby.
Sinatra at the Sands. Let's do
Like
one
a rite
last
of
people.
passage. Now the fucking fun's over. Jesus fucking Christ.
All right, so I think we've had enough of talking about our
nostalgic trip of
Vegas.
Vegas.
Of Vegas. Yeah. I mean,
Assholes.
like we've talked about. I mean, there's not too much to talk about on this live record. I mean, it's not like he wrote these songs. Quincy Jones arranged it, conducted it. So we don't want to get into lyrics or really anything specifically. A lot of these are just common songs that a lot of people covered. I mean, it's not like Sinatra just covered these songs. Like these were songs from the 1930s and 40s that were very popular that many, many people had covered prior to him. So
It's true. It's true.
there's that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you want to do. Do we want to talk about more about Vegas, Sinatra in general? I mean,
I do want to go back to the tea break and just talk a little bit more about his stand up. And it really is not like stand up. I think he probably thought of it as stand up, but really it was just him riffing with the audience, audience interaction more than anything else. But there's a couple things that were funny. I thought it was funny when he said that when he's talking about how Dean Martin drinks so much, he's a drunk, and that was aggressive. And I think Sinatra's at his most funny when he's aggressive like that. Whereas like Dean Martin's just like naturally funny. Everything that he says, he kind of says with like a shit-eating grin on his face, so it's funny. But like when Sinatra's aggressive, then he's funny. And he says like he goes like if you go to Dean Martin's house, there's no drinking after dinner. And he's like, well, you don't eat dinner until 3 a.m., but there's no drinking until after dinner. Like, I just thought that was so fucking funny. Because he says these little Jersey ad, there's no, we eat dinner till 3 a.m., but there's no drinking after dinner. And that was funny. And like the best part was when he calls out that dude for trying to like go to the bathroom or some shit. And he's like, hey, you like, where do you think you're going? Because the guy's probably like drunk too, and he's kind of like hobbling to the bathroom. And even he's like 8 to 5 odds. You don't even make it back in time. Like you can take forever to get over there. And I thought that was so fucking funny too. Like you're just gonna call some dude out in the crowd and fucking just make fun of him for going to the bathroom. Classic, absolutely classic. But yeah, that's all I really got. All right. I also saw that Sinatra hated rock and roll music with a passion. And the quote that I put here, you want to hear the quote about Sinatra? When someone asked him, "What do you think about rock and roll?" Mm-hmm. Here's what Sinatra said. He said, "It's brutal, ugly, degenerate, vicious. It fosters almost totally negative and destructive reactions in young people. It smells phony and false. It is sung, played, and written for the most part by cretinous goons. This rancid smelling aphrodisiac I deplore."
wow,
that's so
those
good.
Are words, dude. Those are words, man.
See, I'm telling you, he's at his best when he's being aggressive. Just be aggressive. That's like I
do like some of the hypocrisy there. Talking about degenerates and this and that, and it's just like, dude, you honestly were not much better, if not worse. You cheated on your wife a bunch of times. You were a drunk. You were this, that. Like who the fuck are you to criticize anybody else? To criticize anybody else, whether it's rock and roll or anything.
Which is funny because like that quote that he just said, that quote's rock and roll, dude. That's rock and roll. Like the way you just said is punk as fuck, right? That's like saying what you truly believe, but not realizing that what you're saying is what you hate is actually you in itself. Also, Sammy Davis Jr., I never knew he lost an eye. Like I never know like he had an accident and lost an eye. Yeah, he was like before his first record even came out. His entire career, he had a fake eye.
What?
Yeah, he was in an accident, and like before his first record came out, and somebody was like backing out into like the highway, and somebody had to like swerve, and he ran into a tree. And at the time, in these old like Buicks or some shit, where the horn is now today, there was this like fucking capsule It looked like an egg, like an egg cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it popped out and shot him and fucking got him right in the eye.
Fuck.
To the point where like his eye was like it just exploded in his fucking skull. So like the rest of his life, he on his first record, he has an eye patch.
What the fuck?
Like on the cover of his first record, he has an eye patch, and for like the rest of his life, he had a glass eye. And there was a point in like the mob history where people were talking and saying like how much they hate Sinatra and like he fucked over the mob and people were some of the mobsters were heard saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking gouge Sammy Davis Jr.'s other eye out. And like, damn, bro. And that's when I was like, what the fuck? He only had one eye. But then like they were, because at the time like you could only go to colored hospitals, and so they drove around for 40 minutes trying to find a hospital that would take Sammy Davis Jr. in. And I guess Sinatra was in. This was hours and hours away, but Sinatra was in San Bernardino at the time. And when they told Sinatra, he got in the car, just dropped whatever the fuck he was doing, got in the car, drove straight out there. And when he found out that they drove for 40 minutes trying to find Sammy Davis Jr. Hospital, he threw such a big bitch fit. And he was like, telling you, I never play in this town again. You're a bunch of fucking racists. Like, that's, you know what I mean? That's cool. Yeah. You show up there like, do you know who the fuck I am? You're never going to see this face again because you're a fucking asshole. That's cool. Back up your boy.
So there's a website called roadsideamerica.com, and they actually have the spot where he crashed his car. It's on Route 66 on the way in San Bernardino County, I should say, on Route 66 on the way back from Vegas back to Los Angeles. That's where he crashed on November 19th, 1954, after a recording session at roughly 7 a.m.
How did you already know this website existed, or is that just
no? I just typed it in. That was the first website that came up. It was literally the first website that came up.
Yeah, because I think it's his first record, but the cover art of his first record is him wearing an eye patch.
I mean, I haven't looked that up. I just all I typed into Google was Sammy Davis Jr. glass eye, and the first thing that came up was this Roadside America website.
Yeah, his debut album is 1954. On the cover is him wearing a fucking eye patch.
That's crazy.
And then Never Again.
It says that the accident happened at the fork of Kendall Drive and Route 66. It says there's no marker for where the accident happened, but yeah, at the fork of Kendall Drive and Route 66. Damn. So, if you ever want to go visit that site where Sammy Davis Jr. lost his eye, there you go. Now you know where it is.
Before we wrap this up, let's just say, because I feel like we're kind of in that area.
Yeah, we're in the wrap up move. Yeah.
If you were to go to that site and take a picture where he lost his eye, and he said, "Hey, take a picture of me, Tammy," what would your picture look like?
I would probably cover one of my eyes.
That's what I would do too. I was thinking like this.
Do that, yeah.
I do like that.
Or I would pretend like I'm in the crash and go like, "Oh, my eye."
What a bitch. But can you imagine like your fucking eyeball like explodes in your head and you're sitting there like waiting for 40 fucking minutes to get to a hospital?
Just fucking bleeding.
Like, dude, just fuck, man. They don't make them like that anymore. I'll tell you that much right now.
No, and it was a Cadillac, not a Buick, by the way. So
I don't.
There's a difference.
I didn't say it was a Buick. I said like a Buick or something.
You still said Buick, and I had to clarify.
I said like a Buick or something. Because I don't know old cars. Okay, I don't care about cars. Cars are dumb. Cars are dumb. Wrong. Cadillac. So yeah. Anyway, we can wrap this one up.
Yeah. So yeah, let's wrap it up.
Everything else to say.
Yeah, we've gone on so many tangents. Skip, I guess, would love it. People who don't like the podcast are gonna hate it, but that's fine. Sinatra lovers.
I bet you we'll get one of those little fucking butthole comments like, "Oh, you guys rank all the other albums. Why don't you do Sinatra's albums?" Like that guy with the 311 stuff on.
Yeah,
like,
the 311 shit today.
I like Stained, but I don't want to listen to Stained. Like, shut the fuck.
He doesn't like Stained.
Like, what are you even talking about? He said Stain like 17 times. Like, shut the fuck up.
I know. Why did this guy in the comment pinpoint Stain and talk about how much he hates him? It's like,
now I want to listen to Stain. Now I want to do a Stained episode. I want to do a Spite episode.
I know. I want to do Stain and then send this guy on YouTube a link to our episode of doing Stained.
Like, hey, fucker, you're gonna miss out on these 3 songs that
would
are
actually
great
be really
because
funny.
You're being a butthole about it.
That would strictly be a Spite episode, and I would kind of be down for that, just so I could send it to him.
Episode?
No, not to that extent. No, actually,
I'm
we've
kind of
never
down
done a
with
Stand.
Stained. I'm kind of down with Stained.
You want to do Stand instead of what we were planning on doing next week?
I still want to do what we're planning on doing next week, but we can throw Stained in the middle.
We'll talk about it after the pod. Because
Okay.
we're pretty toasty right now, so we'll probably talk about it after the pod.
Okay.
Anyway, wrap it up. Final thoughts on the podcast or on this episode, on this album, Sinatra at the Sands. We'll rate the record based off of our world famous 3-point rating system, where 3 is a perfect album, 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to, 1 is a bad album, give it a shot, and 0 is the worst thing you've ever heard. What do you got? Go.
This is definitely something I think is going to not exist in like popular nomenclature after we are dead. This is an era of entertainment that's probably gone, dude. It's almost gone in our generation, but like the younger generation, like the next generation, like why would they ever listen to Sinatra? Like again, outside of like a Starbucks thing or outside of Walmart or outside of a movie that's playing nostalgic. Like why would they ever listen to Sinatra? Whereas like we are listening to it because our grandparents listened to it. So I think that's sad. This era of music is now done. Probably in the same way like our parents would feel like, oh, like Tommy Dorsey, like that stuff's done. Lawrence Welk, that sucks. Like that's, it's good music, but like nobody buys that shit. Nobody fucking gives a fuck about that. It's just too old. It's too old. It's too old and it's too basic. But Sinatra, man, he was something else. Quite the entertainer. I don't know. In all aspects. And people love Elvis for that same reason. People love Michael Jackson for that same reason, as being a good entertainer. But Sinatra was it, dude. He was the whole package because he was an entertainer, but he also was what you wanted to be, right? You saw him party, you saw him like kiss every fucking girl, and like that's like in that times, kissing somebody is the equivalent of now like having a sex scene with somebody. I would think, right?
Yeah.
Like kissing is a dime a dozen. Everybody fucking kisses in the movie now. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But like in the 50s and 60s, that was probably a big deal. And so I don't know, seeing him be Sinatra and rubbing elbows with the mob and like, come on, dude, who didn't want to be Sinatra? Women wanted him, men wanted to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the king of cool, man. He's cool. He's cool.
He was cool.
Dude.
He was cool.
This record's hard to like quantify in a rating. I think if it wasn't Sinatra, if it was like Joey Bishop, right? The other guy in the Rat Pack. Like how many Rat Pack members? There's 5 of them and I only know 4.
Yeah.
Right. Like
But
I
also,
never know the 5th one.
Sinatra, like they weren't even the original. Like Humphrey Bogart was the original leader of the Rat Pack. Like I was reading more about it, and it was like a bunch of different people that came in and out of the group. Some of them were honorary members, and some, were actual guys in the Rat Pack.
That era of the Rat Pack wasn't like the Rat Pack. Somebody had just called them like, damn, y'all look like a bunch of fucking rats in a pack or some shit like that. Yeah. Whereas like Sinatra said, oh, that was cool that somebody said that to you. I'm going to create that on my own with just my boys. And all we're going to do is just get fucked up and fuck bitches all the time.
And that was Humphrey Bogart. He died in 1957. And then,
but it's not what he did.
But it wasn't what it became. So like there was the Rat Pack before, and Bogart was the head of it. He died in 1957. Sinatra took over as the head of the Rat Pack, and then it became this production. It became the live shows, movies.
Right.
It became this like almost larger than
brand.
life thing.
It became a brand.
Yeah, brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah. Before that, it was more of just like doing shit with hood rat shit with your friends.
Yeah, that's what people call it.
This is our group.
Now it's like a brand. Correct.
Yeah, now it's a brand.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, again, it's hard to quantify a record like this because it's such a time period. It's such a piece of history. And it really is. Like this is like there's only been a handful of comeback stories like Sinatra. Like the only thing bigger I can think is like Tina Turner, right? Just gets the shit kicked out of her so fucking long and then has like a period of inactivity and then comes back and is like the biggest pop star in the fucking world. Like that's wild. Like besides that, like Sinatra, dude, that's a comeback story. We like a comeback story. Yeah. So I think like objectively, maybe this is like whatever's, but like subjectively, what this stands for, like this era, man, this is like beyond 3. This is like perfect in so many ways. This represents a time. This represents a mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
This represents like I don't know, dude. Just assimilation of races. This is the whole package. What more do you want? This is fun in every aspect of the word. This is fun. And you listen to this record front to back, and you're not having fun by the end of it, then you're a fucking fuck off. Honestly, like if you can get through this record and you're not having a good time, then you're a shitbag. Straight up.
All right. So what would you rate it? What would you rate it?
I don't know. I don't know how to rate this. I don't.
It's unrateable.
It's unrateable.
That's a first. That is a first.
Again, like if this was anybody else, like if this is Barry Manilow, who gives a fuck, right? Yeah. Like who gives a shit? Like great voice, of course, but like who gives a fuck? Even if this was the Boobs. Like fast forward decades, right? This was the Boobs. Who cares? Yeah, it was a great performance, but I don't give a fuck. Because it was Sinatra, I give a fuck. And because of what he built, that makes his record better. Yes. Because of the extra corrects, that's what makes his record better. Because of like the fucking time, the decade that he helped build. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you don't give a ranking or a rating. That's fine. That's fine.
I don't know what to do. I can't.
That's fine. No, it's fine. I'm not criticizing you. Just the way she goes.
I will say though, if you're not having fun by the end of this record, then you're fuck off. You're a shitbag. Dickhead.
All right. Yeah, I mean, this is I agree with everything that you said. It's a time and place. I agree. It's going to be kind of lost with the generations. I feel like you and I and some people younger than us, we're the last ones to really hear Sinatra a lot because of our parents, grandparents, and stuff like that. But it's going to die with our generation. I mean, he'll always be known and shown as like, you know, such an innovator, or not even really an innovator, but just like as a great entertainer, a great singer, this and that. But nobody will actually like really go around and listen to it. It's like most people don't go around and listen to fucking Beethoven or Mozart or shit like that. You know, and I'm not comparing Sinatra to those two or many of those classical geniuses, but the idea is there. Like people aren't going to go back and actively listen to it. And that's what it's going to be at this point. So it is a time and place. Who he inspired, the scene, the culture that he inspired. I mean, in movies, music, just lifestyle. I mean, Sinatra. I mean, everybody. I mean, some like people older than like Gen X and prior are the generations that are that say Sinatra is the greatest of all time. Like Sinatra is their favorite artist, singer, whatever it may be. But you know, it's a time and place, and I hate saying it, but Sinatra's time is kind of over in a sad kind of fucked up way, but it really is. Like he sold over 150 million records. He has sold over 150 million records, which is astonishing. You know, in the last, you know, not even 100 years, 150 million records. That's insanity. That's insanity. He's still selling a shit ton of records and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, in the end, they're just gonna. In the end, it's just all gonna be nostalgia, and that's really what it was for us too. It was nostalgia. Our grandparents listening to it, and that's it. He was great. He's not a songwriter. He was an actor and did everything. He did everything. Everything that he did was okay to good, but his voice was amazing. Like his voice was the only amazing thing about him, but everything else was like okay to good. That's really that's. But
the Riz was amazing.
But the Riz, I mean, that's a little bit subjective. That's a little bit subjective too, because if you throw a guy like Sinatra into modern day, or even like 20 years ago, his whole persona would not be viewed the same as it was in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So,
I don't know, dude. I think like
I don't know.
I think like if you went out and you saw someone like Sinatra at a bar. And you were like, dude, that guy looks like an idiot. Like, why are you dressed like that? And then you got to talking to him, and he was just like, yeah. And he's, you know, he's kind of drunk. He's probably smoking some dope. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna take that girl home, and tomorrow I'm gonna take her home. And he gets up and he walks up. He exudes confidence. That's what it's all about. Is just confidence. Like,
he did have I think confidence. He used that.
A great voice. Just everything else about him is just like meh. But man, the Riz. Oof. Oof.
All right,
and plus,
so
dude had Riz without even like trying, just like hanging out with the boys, right? Hanging out with the boys, drinking, doing whatever the fuck we want. like fuck guys tonight. We're just gonna do whatever the fuck you want. Like that's it.
Why do you have to reference him? That guy.
That's a
He's
good
not
that
funny.
first
He's not that
dude.
funny.
Dane Cook's first
Dane Cook
fucking
is not
stand
that funny. He's
was
not that funny.
fucking
No,
funny.
he's not. No, he's not.
You know exactly what I was talking about because you thought it was funny.
Because you and Ryan always fucking going. I never.
that was good.
I never.
When it comes out when that action happens, everyone comes out of the house like they're all cold all the time, even though
that was actually funny. I'm not gonna go down this Dane Cook fucking rabbit hole, but that joke actually was funny. Anyway, with that being said, I can't rate it either. It's not fair. This is like the first time we've ever done an album or an artist like this. Like we've always been very kind of like maybe we've always been very afraid of doing jazz or classical music or something like that because it's our big band because we don't understand it. This is another one of those examples. It's like it's so far out of our wheelhouse. It's so not behind us, but it's so far away that you can't. It's hard for me to give a rating. So I'm with you. I can't rate this one. Like I would say what it did for for America and culture, maybe outside of America too. I don't know. We have to talk to a friend of the pod, Skip, who probably hates Frank Sinatra because he has no connection to him.
He hates everything that he has not already heard. He hates everything that he does not already love.
Yes,
that's what he does.
Yes, correct.
That's fine.
Correct.
I did that too when I was 10. That's not a big deal. That's our cyberbullying for tonight.
That at the very end of the episode. So and we'll know too. We'll know if he listened all the way to the end, because if he doesn't bring this up, then we know he didn't listen to the end. And I will call him out for it. Like in a couple weeks when this episode comes out, I will call him out too if he doesn't bring it up.
I'll put it in my notes just so I don't forget. Either.
So yeah, Frank Sinatra. I can't give this a rating because it's so culturally important. And yeah, we're not the biggest Sinatra heads or whatever, or Bobby Soxers. Who cares? Whatever. It's great. Sinatra was great, and that's all I got. Thank you all for listening. My voice is shot, and that's it. That's all. Real Monroe.